And it's going to happen like, it's going to be like,
in the middle.
snap.
And then he lost Rome. It'll be the in memoriam. It'll be both the premiere
Hits his head on the side of the table, just
and the
down.
in memoriam Rome.
The question is, would we
episode.
keep going, keep rolling, or would we stop? Like,
We would have to keep going.
Yeah, in honor of me.
Rome would want us to finish.
he's bleeding out on the floor. Like, Rome would want us to finish.
Rome would want us to finish and then call 911.
Can you not bleed on the carpet, please? That's hard to get out. All right, welcome everyone to our very first episode of Rev Cycle Unscripted. My name is Ben Regal, and we are excited to be here. My co-host, Tina Fleming.
Hello.
We have been doing a podcast for 7 years, which is crazy.
It is
6
crazy.
years, seventh season, I guess, is probably correction.
Yes.
We did over 130 episodes or something.
Hard to believe.
That was called My Good Friends. If you haven't seen it, you can go back and check out all the episodes. But it felt like it was time to rebrand, start new. And so this is that. And our idea here is that we continue kind of the same thing that we were doing, in that we were focused on trying to talk about real issues and maybe swear a little bit and maybe debate a fair amount and just try to have a real conversation. And so that's why it's unscripted. I try not to have a lot of like pre-scripted questions, as Tina knows.
Or necessarily
Forethought, that sounds bad, but
well, but necessarily a direction, or we're trying to get to a profound, like a predetermined conclusion, I think.
that'd be good. And we'll probably still do a mixture of, my favorite thing to do is to bring on a guest and hear kind of origin stories,
Yes.
And so we'll do some of those for sure. And then the other probably type is where we'll take a topic, have a guest, maybe not have a guest, but debate the topic, talk about it. Again, but not have a foregone conclusion, and certainly trying not to have like a script of how the conversation will go. We don't have that.
That's right.
We have been, just clarify a couple things. One in particular, because it comes up a fair amount, is like we don't do any paid podcasts, even though I've been asked many times. No offense to Scott Becker, but we don't do that. That's fine if that's your thing. That's not our thing. We'll have a sponsor, but that covers our costs, and they don't influence what we cover here.
Right.
It's always been about things that I'm most interested in, and if I find it interesting, I might have a vendor on. But I've been approached a lot, especially in the last year or two, about can you have this guest on? Like, maybe it'd have to
Right.
be interesting, but I'm not doing
Right.
anything as a promotion. So I could clarify that, because I think that comes up a fair amount. And I don't know how many episodes we'll do a year. So there's that.
We never know what's going to happen.
Never know. I definitely go through phases where I have energy towards it, and I go through phases where I don't have energy towards it. So, and I guess just talking on that a bit, for My Good Friends, I felt like I was losing energy on it. Mm-hmm. And I think we tried a couple different, tactics. I even tried doing this Rev Cycle Rant, which was like I was going to do something weekly, just 15 minutes by myself. Mm-hmm. That's hard. And I knew it was hard going in, but I also just wasn't sure, like, yeah, I think I've got enough stuff to talk about. But a lot of the stuff I felt like I wanted to talk about, I didn't feel like I probably could talk about. So it was like trying to figure out what could I do that wouldn't just piss people off.
Right. Well, it's like when you counsel people who want to do a blog, perhaps, or if they're even called blogs anymore, thought leadership, that you really have to have sort of everything planned out at least 6 months in advance, and have 4 months of it, kind of in the pocket before you even start putting it out there, because it is a really difficult thing to maintain. I know that you and I both admire several people on LinkedIn who do just really consistent, really thoughtful, really long form, posts that
crazy.
Takes an incredible, that's like a full-time job in itself.
Shay does it, right? And I talked to Shay a lot about this. It's one of those things where I don't know.
Yeah, it's a full
anyone getting into full-time content is like, it is hard. It is not easy. I was just talking to somebody else yesterday about like doing the podcast. And you know, how many people ask me about, I want to start a podcast. Like, what's your advice? And I'm like, my advice is always like, if you're not passionate about the subject, forget about it. Do you know how many people have started a podcast and they get 10 episodes in, they can't get past 10 episodes? It's like either ran out of content or they just realized they weren't as like passionate about it as they think, right? So I think it's just one of those things where it's like, I want this to continue to be something this is a side project for us. You know, this isn't my full-time job, but I want to be able to like talk about things I want to talk about. And I do feel like people have said this on a post that I put out recently, kind of saying that My Good Friends was ending. I got a lot of direct messages that we kind of protect the leaders and give a voice to the leaders. And I think that if we can continue to do that, it's like, feels like it's worth it.
Certainly. And I think that I don't want to pat us on the back too firmly, but I do think we are able, because of maybe it is a protected format and people do feel safe, that we do get to hear stories and see a side of leaders that just aren't out there. I think we've talked to some amazing people and we get to see a side of them that just isn't out there for the general public to see or the general community to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think we ultimately want to know, we dive deeper into things, the stories that people wouldn't normally dive into.
Right.
I also think I think we've gotten good at being able to find out go back to that because that sounds interesting. You skipped over 10 years and like something's in there, you know,
I went from here to there.
So I feel like we've honed that in a bit where we're much better interviewers than we were when we started.
So tell us, Ben, how did you get here? For those of you who haven't listened to any of this before, meet Ben Regal.
That's right. That's right. Well, which part? Where do we want to start? I don't even know.
Why don't we talk about little Ben Regal who wanted to be a doctor?
Oh, I did not. I mean, I thought I did.
Who briefly considered medical school and then went into healthcare administration.
Yeah. No, I grew up, my dad was a pastor, and then my parents got divorced when I was 9, 8. I don't know. I don't know why I'm looking at you for the answer.
I don't know. I was not there.
But I think part of that, I say that because part of that process, I'm the youngest of 3, and my older brother and older sister are 4 and 6 years older than me, so I'm by far the youngest. I was also like a bit of a mistake. So like they didn't think they were having another one.
Mistake.
Well,
a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You know what I always say about my youngest child? I say he was unplanned but not unwelcome. That's what I say.
Yeah. I don't know if I was unwelcome, that's a strong term, but I definitely was like not probably part of the plan, especially for my dad who was would later come out as being gay, right? And
making different choices.
Making different choices in life. I say that because I think it had a profound effect on me. We moved a lot as a kid. My dad was a part of a church organization that like just moved you didn't have a choice. You just like moved every 2 or 3 years. So we moved a lot as a kid, and then my parents got divorced and we were poor because my mom had to go back to school.
Right.
And then we moved even more.
Right.
I actually lived 6th grade in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I went from Midland, Michigan to Hattiesburg, Mississippi in 6th grade. And as I unpacked in the last few years with my therapist, which I've been open about, that was traumatic, you know, at the time. So it was just interesting kind of like being in that world, kind of moving a lot. I say all that because I think it formed a lot of like who I am today. And one of the things that I think I realized out of all of that is I would say today, like I'm a really good community builder.
I would agree.
So, and I'm not saying that like tying my horn, it's just like, that's what I know I'm good at. But I think it was also like, for me as a kid, it was like a defense mechanism. So I remember you've heard this before, I think, where I told you I was doing this like first initial intakes with my therapist. And one of the things that would happen as, you know, as junior high and high school is like, especially junior high, I was like living at my friends' houses, especially the weekends. I'd be gone all weekend, And he's like, this isn't normal, right? I mean, he kind of said, and I was like, I don't know. I never thought about it, like this was, and what I realized what had happened is like, I had created these, I don't know, communities of friends and different ones too. Like I had some tennis friends and I had like
new
friends,
families that serve different purposes.
Yes. And so I had created these, but it was all kind of a defense mechanism because I had realized that I just did not trust my mother to take care of us. And so, which I learned when I was 12 and I remember the day. And so it was like one of those things where you're like, okay, well, I got to figure out how to take care of myself.
Right.
So fast forward, again, giving you context of like, I realized that today, like, and then when I started RCM Leaders Forum, it was like, well, I know that there's this power in community. I didn't know, I think then, like I was going to form one. I just was like, I know that if I gather people and I can strip away some of the other stuff, I could actually like maybe get change, maybe get people to think differently and then ultimately change RevCycle, which I do feel like I've been on a mission. I don't know, mission's the right word? I don't know. What's the right word?
I think it's a good word. We use that word for now.
I've been on a mission to really try to change the way we think about revenue cycle, because I feel like it's changing more now, but there was a period of time where I probably had been out of operations for a long time and I still could have gone in consulting. That there's no other industry where you should be able to do that.
15 years later,
15 years later, I can still step in and be like, okay, do these things. Like, I hate to say that I can do some of that now. I don't think I could, but I wouldn't want to. But I do, like that's where I was kind of like getting the mission. But I felt like if I could build a space in which people could peers could challenge each other in a way that was safe. Right. I felt like then you could change people's minds.
And I also think, and maybe this is interjecting at the wrong time, but you also created a space where they knew they could turn to each other. I think that's a huge differentiator that Leaders Forum has created. They now have each other when they didn't before.
Yeah. Yes. When we started it, one of the feedbacks I was picking up on was that some of the people that were becoming like VPs of RevCycle at a hospital did not have a network. And so they're like, well, I'm not a part of this other thing. And so I don't really have anybody I can call and just... and just talk about what's happening.
Or just whatever.
I mean, they might have other friends or people that like are vendors, but vendors, they're helpful, but they don't have the same perspective if they never lived in those shoes. Right. So trust me, I lived in those shoes for a while. It's like, it's not an easy job. It's a really, really hard job. So yeah, I guess so saying all that, I feel like I spent my first part of my career, and what you alluded to, college, and that my brother had gone to the medical field. He was a nuclear medicine technologist. Wow. He's 6 years older, right? I looked up to him and was like, oh, like, this sounds cool. Like, I don't know what that is, but it sounds fun.
Sounds great.
So I was like, I'll go into medicine. And I was pre-med in college, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. Like, I remember studying for a test. I was like, what was I in pathophys or something? I don't know. It was tough. And I studied with this girl that I knew that was in my class, and she had gotten accepted to medical school already, right? Oh. And we had studied together about the whole time. She gets her test back, and she got like a 98. I got my test back, and I got like 84. And I was like, this is not going to work out. Right. Like, I worked hard the same amount as she did. Right. And I'm not even close. Right. Like, this is a bad idea. So that's when I was like, I got to find a backup here. And then somehow I found health administration. And but then I worked for a hospital and found out like I really didn't love that.
Well, that's not for me.
But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what it was like to be in operations. And I was actually in surgery of all things and on the business side of it, and worked with a bunch of clinicians and clinical managers. And it was super fun, and still to this day, I mean, fun at times, like learning. Sure, of course. It was terrible at times. But I don't know if I would, at this time, I would not say this, but today I wouldn't trade it for anything because I feel like as tough as it was. I remember I'd get there, like, if I got there past like 6 a.m., the nurses would just look at me like slacker. Like they'd be just calling me that, like,
right.
No,
rolling in.
yeah.
Huh?
Oh, I guess just rolling in whenever you want.
That's right.
It's like, I mean, that's like 6:15. I don't know, like, and I'm not a morning person, as you know.
Yes.
So I was like, for me, it was like, oh God.
Well, it's not like you were performing a surgery or something.
No, but it didn't matter. They didn't give a shit. They were like, actually,
must be nice.
I got a great story. So there's this nurse, Pat. I'll never forget her. So Mary Jane Prebe was the director of the surgery department, who I loved still to this day. If she's listening, miss you. She's in Arizona. She retired a long time ago. But Mary Jane had been the surgery director for, I don't know, 20 years or something, right? So she's taking me around, and, you know, she's so gracious. She's so great, you know, because they had never had this role before, or they had it, but it wasn't for a long time. And so I was like, I'm like this, you know, I'm like a different type of animal.
Right.
So she introduces me to this woman, Pat, who's like a charge nurse in the OR. And the OR nurses are their own beast, right? Like, most of them, their personal lives are a disaster. Serious. And but it's like the people you'd want, if there's an emergency, like you'd want that person.
Right.
Like they take charge. They have no holds barred.
Right.
Well, this woman, Pat, she's like, introduces me. Mary Jane's like, this is Ben. He's going to be doesn't say a word, right? Just looks at me and then looks me up and down like this. And then she looks at Mary Jane and she goes, I could take him. And turns around and walks away. She walks away, right? And I was like, this is my literally introduction. This is my first like 10 minutes into it, right? And I go, Mary Jane, I'm like, what is going on? She's like, I know, she's intense. Fast forward, this is a true story. Fast forward, my sister-in-law, Lauren, works at Michigan, and she's a nurse, right? And then turns out she's a nurse manager after a while. She works in surgery at, like, I don't know, Michigan Children's Hospital, so Mott Children's, right? And somehow we're talking, and then I was like, you know, I used to work in surgery, so I tell her the story. Right. And she goes, she knew that person, Pat, works at a facility with her. She knew exactly what I was talking about. I don't remember her last name, so I can't say it on I wouldn't say it on air, but like, she knew exactly who I was talking about. Is that hilarious or what? She's like, oh, she's the same way. She hasn't changed a bit. I was like, that makes total sense.
Well,
but that's my foray. That was my foray into like healthcare. I knew I didn't love it. You know, like I just felt like hospitals aren't moving. They don't move fast enough. But I could always get a sense of like, I need to move faster. And there's no shot against them. They just literally can't. Like some of these things I just can't change. And so I just happened to be the very first hospital Creative Health started, and then they were there, and I became friends with them, mostly because I was friends with, the only people that were my age were the leaders that were in RevCycle. So Sarah or Karen Sebastian, if you're listening, like those are my people, and they were like, you should interview with, you should meet these guys. And I was like, okay. And so I ended up taking the job, moving to Detroit. It was super fun for 5 years. Super fun for 2.5 years, then not fun for 2.5 years. Yeah. Got recruited to go to this company called McKinsey, and that was crazy and super fun. And then
it wasn't.
No, it was fun. No, it was super fun. Great people, just a culture. I came out of a creative culture, which was like no holds barred, wild, wild west, no rules, just get results, to like strong culture, a way of doing things, and the smartest people I ever saw in my life. And I was like, but I was like the old guy, because they had just hired new grads. So I was like, what in the world? And they were looking at me like, what should we do? I'm like, I don't know. Like, what should we do? You tell me. So it was like an adjustment period, but then it ended up being a great experience. And then I got a phone call from, I don't remember who, maybe Tiffany, somebody that I knew from my creative days, and we're starting this company, and I thought they were crazy.
Well, and
I got the voicemail from David, you know, and it was totally insane. I was like, this guy sounds insane. Like, I don't know if I can take this call. And knowing David now, it's like, par for the course. It totally sounds right. Then we started at Health Rise, and that sucked for a year and a half, and then it was great. And then it was time. It felt like it was time to leave. And so 8 years ago, I left and went on my own.
Yeah.
Now I've built 2 communities. Newest one's at Tarpon. And the podcast came out of that. My good friends came out of that, which was a total whim, I guess. I had seen, do you remember I don't know if you know this. I had seen my buddy Matt do some Michigan football thing on YouTube with one of his guys.
No, I don't think I know that.
And they did it through Zoom before Zoom was cool, right? And it was stupid. I remember watching being like, this is stupid. Like, what?
Gee, I hope you're listening, Matt. No,
it was dumb. It was literally just talking Michigan football, and I was like, mind you, this is probably this is 2000.
What was it, 17?
17, 18? And, but then 20 minutes later, I was still watching it, and I was like, what?
Oh.
This is interesting. Like, why am I watching this? It feels like a train wreck. It's like I'm just watching a train wreck because it is. So then I was like, well, what if I just did this? And so back then, LinkedIn didn't have any limitations on video because no one was doing it.
Right.
So you could post it, but they didn't have any like today, I don't know, Rome, how many minutes is this? Like, you can do 3 minutes? Yeah, it's like, or 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. Yeah. So 5 minutes. And so I was like, well, I called up Jeff Means, my buddy. And I was like, dude, let's just get on Zoom.
Right. I remember this one with
Get on Zoom. And then we'll just see what happens.
I love you, Jeff Means, wherever you are.
Yeah. And he's in like the worst lighting.
Right.
It had like shades behind him. Like Roman cringe is thinking about this. Shades behind him that are shut, but it's like kind of light popping out.
Yes.
And he's
it's as if he is the Unabomber.
Back then Zoom recorded it like
he's in hiding. He's in deep hiding.
It might have recorded at like 360p or something. Terrible. It was awful. And it was like Zoom sound. I don't know how to edit anything, so it's just like
it's raw video.
I took the 35-minute video, and we just told stories and bullshit. It was great. I took the whole video and I posted it on LinkedIn. And the video got like 5,000 views, which at the time, I hadn't had anything over like 1,500. You know, I didn't have LinkedIn, and it wasn't. I don't know, LinkedIn wasn't what it was today.
It's a different game, yeah.
So I remember posting it and then being like, I don't know, we'll see what happens, and then people like blowing up my phone. I'm getting text messages, and then people responding, and the same direct messages, which had never happened really. It was like, what is this? This is crazy. People are like, this is great. These are all these stories. So then I did a couple more, and then I realized, I can't remember who told me. Somebody's husband of somebody that was on my show. And they were like, I think if you edit it a little bit. This is literally the comment.
A little editing.
Just edit. Like, maybe did a little bit of editing and got it down. And but what it did force me to be is like, maybe it's like an actual podcast.
Right.
And then that's when we ended up with Clay.
And down at the hotel.
Down at the hotel. Which had a studio for some unknown reason. I don't even know if it does anymore. But
that was cool though. That was cool. Studio was
And then
fun.
we did the first couple. We recorded 3, I think, the same day. One of them didn't record for some reason, so we had to redo it. Actually, it ended up being really good.
Yes.
But then you weren't in it at first, so to give people like a little context, you weren't in it. You were there helping set up, but you weren't in it. And then what we realized was like we'd be doing like this, and then people would be laughing, and they're trying to laugh because they're in the room. But I was like, it actually kind of made sense. And then I was like, Tina, you should just come up and just be at the table. Like this is it'll be fun. So that's.
And then I put those headphones on. We've never looked back.
That's right.
I heard myself in the headphones. I was like, what is this? Sweet heaven. Hello.
Sweet heaven. She's like, I never saw Mike. I didn't like.
I was like, hello.
Well, okay.
My radio career begins. I wasn't the broadcasting
and I don't have a radio voice or a TV face, so there's that. But I was like, it's all right. We'll just do it.
Finally, I am. Also, yes, because I'm like, I am Kathy Lee. There's my aging showing. No, because I used to have a very dear friend. I mean, he is still my friend. that I worked with. And then not only did we worked for the same PR agency, but then we also waited tables together because there's no money in PR. So we also waited tables together, and we interviewed at the same restaurant, and we interviewed together to be to be servers at the same restaurant, but we just had our interview together. And the manager who interviewed us was like, you guys should just like have a talk show together. Like you could be Regis and Kathy Lee, that just tells you how old I am.
For those who are listening,
it just tells you how old I am.
It's now called,
it's just
Kelly and Michael?
It's just Kelly and her husband.
Her husband's on there?
Yeah.
No way.
Mark Consuelos is now her co-host, yes.
Her husband is I actually did not know this.
See,
this is news for me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have regular television, so I only know that because of Instagram. But yes.
That sounds like a disaster.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like a mistake.
Anywho, that's how many evolutions we've been through. Yes. Anyway, so that was my dear friend, Ron Hall. Shout out.
All right. Well, just to finish it off,
yes.
I have a lovely wife. We've been married 24 years.
She
almost
is lovely.
25 next year.
Fine woman.
And
she sees me. That's fine. I see you, Jenny.
And two girls that are 15 and 16 that are good ages. It's fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's it. And here you are.
Here I am. I do lots of stuff. I have my irons in the fire on a lot of things. I'm CEO of Tarpon, but my team knows it's very hard to like put me in a box, I guess.
Right. How dare you?
I do think that a lot of it's formed from just the way I grew up, probably. Mm-hmm. It was, it's kind of, if you're an Enneagram person, and we did a bunch of shows on Enneagram in the beginning.
I know. And so Tina still doesn't remember which one. I think I'm all of them. All and none.
No, that can't be.
I think I actually want to do.
Well, I was 7, so it's like, which means I'm constantly trying to like, what's the next thing? Like, what are we doing next?
Right.
And so I think for me, it's always like, okay, I'm in this spot, which is okay. I'm in a good spot. It's just like, I do feel restless a lot, which is something I've been working on and making sure it's like not detrimental, but it's like, yeah, I like to do different stuff.
Me too, but I'm not a 7. I don't know if I'm a 7. Again, I think I have to just stop taking the free ones and take the actual.
I've told you this many times. Yeah.
I know. I think we actually had an Enneagram person.
The ones in Cosmopolitan.
Didn't we actually have an Enneagram person come on?
Yes, we did twice. Twice. And you know who got certified is Janelle. Janelle got certified, and she went to the Enneagram Institute and got certified.
Oh, well, I guess I'll just text her.
She's too busy now. But anyways.
No, she's too busy. Too bad.
Too busy. Bad.
You missed your window.
All right, let's hear about you.
Okay.
Let's tell the audience. Give us the backdrop.
Here I am, Tina Fleming. Was born a long, long time ago.
Well, you don't have to give your age. We don't have to do that.
No. I know. I was just joking. I was
39.
I was trying to think. Yes, I'm fairly convinced I'm 35, but I also believe everyone else is too. So, by the way, I don't age anybody. I think we're all the same age. That's my good rule of thumb. I just think I feel like I'm about 35, and so is everybody else.
I don't ever think that, but okay, go ahead. Keep going.
What do you think? No, never mind.
I don't think about other people as being the same age.
No. I just mean I don't think anybody is older. I don't age anybody. I just think it's cool. We're all cool. It's all the same.
Okay. All right.
Except for my boyfriend. He's an old man. I'm just kidding.
That is true.
It's true. He is kind of crabby. My parents too got divorced, but mine was very young. 3. I don't remember them ever being married, which I think was good because I
much better
could never imagine them being married to each other. Very odd couple. Very odd. I was always like, I couldn't even imagine it. Well, because I'm a big reader. I have always been like a nose in a book kind of gal. And I always remember reading these stories or watching movies, and there's always these kids who wanted their parents to get back together. And for me, that's just such an...
You were like, what?
What? Because I could not imagine...
These two should not be together
I couldn't
at
even
all.
imagine, I appreciate that they were because they made me, and I can very much see how they did that. Like, I can see...
Well, my dad was gay. I mean, I shouldn't be around at all.
Right, exactly. Like, I can see how things happen, like the parts of each of them that created this fine mess. But I couldn't imagine them sharing space, at all, just diametrically opposed humans. Very strange. I was an English major. I lived my life. I was a very busy teen. I was in plays and I sang and I was in lots of clubs. I was, I was not sporty. That can't surprise anyone, but I did run track because I needed a sport for my college applications. I know. See, surprising.
What did you run in track?
I ran the 440 relay.
No way.
I sprinted, and I did
What?
the
No
high
offense,
jump.
but that seems.
I had to do the high jump because our track team was so small that if we just had to have somebody who could be the third, so you get the point.
Right.
So I can only complete the low bar.
You like the 4 foot or whatever, the 3.5.
I could complete the one. That was all. So you get
a
so
point.
I could take third. You get the point. Our 440 relay team was not bad. I have very long legs. It was really just a physical. I had the right body to
Less
do the
steps
thing.
than everybody
yes,
else.
that's all
Yes.
I really had.
Yeah.
The only advantage I had, and really it was just so that I had a sport.
Yeah, makes sense.
I did play basketball in 7th grade, but I hated it. Again, it was just because I've been this tall since I was 12, so I just did it anyway. It was not for me, but I tried.
Okay.
I went to college, Michigan State University. I was an English major, as we all know, with majors in film and theater. So, continuing that artsy space. I was a publicist and a fine waitress for many moons.
That's right. Yeah.
Actually, I think, and if I think about the job that shaped me the most, actually, I would say that waitressing is probably the thing. I think if you can work in customer service and take care of people and keep your cool and be kind and joyful in that process
That's so
when
true.
people are being awful to you, then I think you can do anything. I used to love to hire interns who had, kind of a service background because they already knew what they needed to know, and then you just had to teach them the job you wanted them to do. Like
Sure.
they knew how to be a person in the world.
Right.
Because I think too often people don't have that basic. Because I think you don't need to teach them how to talk to people. You just need to teach them how to do the job that they want them to do.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I always liked people who had service in their background. So I was a publicist for many years. I worked for very big film clients for Disney and Sony, and I worked on very big films like, I don't know, Spider-Man and all those Pirates of the
Tobey
Caribbean
Maguire
films. And the Tobey Maguire ones.
And that was back in the day when they would do.
Big, huge premieres
Premieres,
here.
right?
Yep,
Yeah.
and tours of movie stars.
So you got
had
to meet all kinds of people?
Tour of them here in Detroit. And
What was your favorite celebrity?
my favorite.
I feel like you've told me this before,
Well,
but-
my favorite celebrity was Viggo Mortensen. You remember him as
Yeah.
yes, from
course.
the Lord of the Rings movies. He was here. He was delightful. And also handsome as all get out. Hello. But I took him to, when
You
there
weren't
was
biased at
when
all,
we had
but okay.
Borders bookstores. I took him.
Oh, yeah.
He came in on the private Disney plane, and the pilot had kids, and he had been talking to the pilot, so he wanted to go to the bookstore and buy the Lord of the Rings books to sign, to give to the pilot, to give to his kids. So he asked me if
And you were kind of like his.
I was his liaison.
handler
Yes,
or
his
whatever,
handler.
yeah,
So he asked me if, when you arrived.
I just made up that term, but I was right.
He's like,
Okay.
yes. He's like, could you take me to the bookstore so I could just get these books? And I said, well, let me see, is it still open, right? And it was, I think he came in on a Sunday night. And Borders was open late on Sundays. I don't know why. So we were able to go to the book. And like literally in the last 20 minutes they were open. And nobody's there because it's like late Sunday night. And we're in the bookstore. I'm in the bookstore with Viggo Mortensen, and the films all just had won Oscars. After the third film had come out, here I am, and nobody knew he was here, and nobody, so I'm just in the store with him, and he gets the books, and I'm supposed to pay for everything. One of the rules, as for Disney, is you pay for all of them when they're in town. You just take care of you take care of them. It's your job.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is. So I was like, I'll take care. And he was very much a gentleman. No, absolutely not. He was offended.
He's like, you're not
He
paying
was
for
like,
this.
yeah, so we go up to the counter and he goes to pay, and he hands the cashier his credit card with his name on it. And this kid does not even blink an eye. And in the meantime, he also buys a magazine with his face on it because he had done. He's a photographer. He's a poet, a photographer, a publisher, an actor, a director. He's a Renaissance man.
He's creative.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So he had done a guest photo shoot for this photography magazine.
Sure.
So he was like, oh, they have a copy of this magazine. I'm going to grab this. And then he signed it and gave it to me. So I have it at my house.
Oh, that's super cool.
anyway, so he buys this magazine with his face on it. He buys a stack of books with his credit card that has his name on it. And like the kid doesn't blink an eye, like nothing. Like nothing registered. And then like we left and then we went and had a beer. Like that was funny. And then he did his tour the next day and then off he went. Like
That's a bit Detroit though, to be honest.
Yeah, it was no actually
most
people they love to come here. They love to come here because
they don't really care.
No, because people are cool. Like they don't make a fuss about it. They're like, hey man. My actors were usually good. They were happy to be here and I was my plan for that was always like I just want them to come here, have a really pleasant time, and leave and kind of like have it be so nice that it was like, oh, Detroit was great. Yeah, you know, yeah, it was fantastic.
I remember.
So I did that for many. It was my favorite job I ever had until I started working for myself.
I was going to say, wait a second.
Yeah, because I got to
No, it's super cool.
Yeah, because I got to go to movies in the middle of the day and see.
But then that kind of started to end, right?
Yeah.
At some point.
Well, I had. For me, it was still when media was still very much alive, print media, and the internet hadn't quite ruined everything yet. But I had 2 children at the time. I was having a third. It wasn't feasible anymore for me to be able to do, because it was weekends and nights and.
Yeah, it's like weird hours.
Yeah,
right?
like there was just no way that I could have 3 kids and do that. And keep that going. So,
yeah.
And my intention was only to have a year off and like do that. But then I had Zephyr, my 3rd child. And so then I was a stay-at-home mom for 7 years, but also had a small business at the same time because I was so good at being a film publicist that as small projects would come through Detroit, that my agency, they weren't worthwhile from a financial standpoint for them to take, they would pass them to me. So I did the small tours with like Bruce Campbell, who's from Detroit. He was promoting his own films. Like he would come through and I would do a couple days with him, or some book projects that came through. Again, just the authors didn't have the money to pay for, a big agency. So I started working one-on-one with them.
Right.
And then the film business came to Michigan for a couple of years. We had a film incentive. So I worked on a couple films that shot here. And actually were made, and so I have my name in film credits, and I have a page on IMDb, which is my favorite thing. Like it makes me like, because I love movies, and so my name is in the credits is actually like super nerdy and cool. It is my married name, so it is not. I know that is
hurtful.
The one bummer, but it's okay. It's still meaningful to me, and I do actually only one of them on DVD. I don't have the other one on DVD. Probably should look for it and get it, but should probably. So I have it.
Yeah,
I know. I still have DVDs. And then I had to go back to work, so I got divorced, and then it was all very scary because I was like, "What am I going to do?"
Because 7 years have gone by.
7 years have gone by, and while I did, I had clients who would say great things about me, and I had. A great resume, and it wasn't as if I'd done nothing by the way, raising children for 7 years is not doing nothing. Just let's put that
Agreed.
out there. But
100%.
also I had work. I mean, I had legitimate credits and clients and people who had paid me money. I wasn't just out there on vacation, as some of my interviewers may have implied. I'm not resentful. No.
It's coming across, but yes.
No. So I was very concerned, and finally, one of my former interns, so sweet, who is now a vice president of a PR agency, got me an interview, and they hired me to work 5 hours a week. So the first week I was hired, I worked 5 hours. The second week I worked 20 hours. The third week I worked 40. And then I worked for them for 5 months before I was then hired, not by a crazy voicemail message, but by a crazy person in person. David Fartman, to work at Healthrise, although it wasn't Healthrise at the time.
We don't have to talk about that.
The name was not a name, and anyway,
that's a whole other story.
So then and actually I wasn't technically hired to work at Healthrise. I was hired to work for him, and then it all I got folded in. When did you start
ghostwriting though on some books?
That I started working with David in because I was working with him through the agency.
Oh, I see.
In January of 2014, I think. because it was right after the first of the year. And my first impression, I'd never met him before. I'd worked in Detroit for years, and I mean, my whole career in PR and everything had been here. I worked for high-end restaurants. I worked for movie theater premiere openings. I'd worked for theaters and movie studios and all kinds of like very high-end events where I invited very named people in the in the area to come to things. I'd never met any Farbmans ever, so I had no clue who he was. And I walked in, and one of my former interns worked for him because he was like, "How do you know everybody?" Because they all worked for me. That's how. But I walked in, and my first impression of meeting him was he handed the vice president I was there with, a handful of meat. Like deer jerky or deer
venison. Yes.
Okay. Like he just handed.
Yeah. You got to try this, I'm sure. Yeah. Classic.
I was like, what is happening?
Awesome. That's awesome.
So that was my first meeting. I was like, okay. And then we left, and she was like, yeah, this is going to be your client. You're going to handle this whole thing.
Fun.
And no one's going to, and it was supposed to be hers. She was supposed to handle it. And I was supposed to just like second her on this account. And she was like, yeah, I'm having nothing. You're just going to take care of this. And I was like, okay, whatever. No. Anyway, so, and I had never heard of revenue cycle. I didn't know what that,
yeah.
Who does? Yeah. And I remember, I think, because it'd probably been, for 5 months or 5 or 6 months, I worked just with David, like doing David things, like working on a speaking career and all these different things.
Oh, yeah.
Pitching and whatever.
Yeah.
And then y'all did EOS, and I got put on your team. You inherited me. Ben inherited me.
I did.
And Ben was like, what the hell?
Well, I also inherited like
Lots
sales
of things,
and HR, and I didn't know any of that stuff really.
Yep.
I'd always
and
been
then,
an operator.
But we sorted it out. You and I sorted our business out. We got all our stuff in line. And then I remember sitting down with you, and we were interviewing because we were putting together a deck for a pitch for HFMA. Do you remember this? Mm-mm. And we were doing a speaking pitch, and you sat down and explained the Oakwood situation to me. Like going into Oakwood and installing Epic. And that was really like when all of the light bulbs and dingy dings went off for me.
Oh, I don't remember this. But
yeah, we sat in a conference room with what was his name?
Doug?
No. The client from Oakwood who was going to speak with us.
Oh, Matt Elsie, maybe?
No.
Oh, dude, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who it was. But we sat and through that, because I was building out the speaking proposal, and you all between the two of you told me this whole story of installing the Epic install there, and I was like, oh, because it explained to me like the from paper to BHR, like what this looked like, what revenue cycle looked like from. And then I was like, oh, okay. Like, I get it.
Then you fell in love.
I get Susie. I get Susie in her cubicle and her burnt popcorn. I understand now.
Well, that's another. You have to live that to experience that. To know that.
Well, yes. And then through that, and because of the many things I think you and I tried, and some succeeded, some did not. I was able to really get a great understanding. I was able to write, several different pieces about revenue cycle, and using various resources that we had on hand there to really gain a greater understanding, which really gave me a great opportunity in the market when I chose to leave and do my own thing, that I have what I see as like pretty unique skill set, because I can really write about revenue cycle in a way that is personable, and because like there's a lot of technical revenue cycle writing out there, or And a lot of I look at a lot of sales sheets because I'm just curious about what people put out there, and you look at them and you're like, yeah. So I like that, I think I like to think I have the ability to give a little bit of a different voice and a little bit of a different tweak on what's out there, and still have it resonate and be the right words and the right language, but have it be a little more, I don't know, colloquial.
What's your favorite thing about the podcast or doing a podcast like this? Like, what's your, like, why keep coming back to it?
Why do I keep coming back for more? Well, first of all, I love learning about the people, because I love people, as you know, and getting to hear the stories, because you wouldn't think, I don't know, that there would be so much personality and quirkiness and sort of variety and like how people have come to revenue cycle. Because again, you and I have talked about it, and we've talked about it with many others. There's no clear path to getting here. Everybody's come.
It's always finding like
everybody's come by way of something else. Like I tripped outside of a doorway, and here I am.
Yep.
So I love hearing the story of how people got to where they are. I also love hearing the way people are finding solutions to some of the problems that the industry faces. I really enjoyed that last piece we did on the patient-facing registration. I thought that was really interesting, even though I brought up my parents way too much. I just really thought, like, I love that. Because
they're like pissed. You're like, we listened to it, and you mentioned this multiple times. There's no way to listen to it.
It's like, fill out the form again. And I just love because they're solving a problem that is a frustration for me personally. So like I love knowing that people are out there thinking of solving the things that are real problems. And I know that it all takes time. I think it's easy to think you could just, okay, this problem solved, moving on, but I know the world doesn't work that way. So I like hearing, I like knowing that people are out there trying. I think that's great too, because it's also easy to look at it and think, well, that hasn't changed yet. Clearly no one's doing anything about it. So I think I really like knowing that there's good people out there working hard to make a difference. Mm-hmm. It's meaningful. And it's good. We give them a platform.
Yeah, I think I think there's some of the challenge that is out there about talking about things. I mean, my favorite thing is like debating and talking about things that people can't necessarily talk about. Mm-hmm. I say that because most often what happens is like the vendors, if they have an opinion, you might get fired for it, right?
Sure.
Or it could be just you're the owner of a company, but it could hurt you financially, right? And so I think there's that aspect. And then if you're a provider or leader, sometimes it's you may just be too busy to like come up and like say, hey, this isn't right. What's happening right here is not okay. Mm-hmm. I think it's like, I don't know if I see it as my role, but I feel like I've taken it on as my role. I've had this unique ability to like be able to bring up stuff like that. Now I've had to temper it somewhat. I can't always say the thing I want to say, but I feel like, with the change thing is like a good example where it's like, yeah, I feel like someone has to say something here because what they were doing isn't right.
Right.
And then what often happens is I'll get like direct messages later being like, I'm so glad you said that. Like, I just can't say it. I can't even make a comment. And I'm like, okay, but okay, all right. But like, so if nothing else, we're doing that. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the job I had set out to do is at least I'm doing that job.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
that's so sad.
Well, I think it's just the nature of the business,
No, I know.
Like other people do podcasts, and I'm like, it's fine, but I don't listen to them because I feel like you're not going to be able to talk about what we talk about because it's a corporate thing,
interests, right?
So they can't do it. the only time we've run into this is when I did the CEO series.
Yeah.
And those are the only ones that I had to have, you know, like
Somebody
I had to give it back to
say,
them, and
okay.
they had to like
Right. You can
edit it, and, you know, they had to
Right.
be careful with what they said. And I'm not blaming them. I think it's just the nature of it. But I also, those are public figures, right?
Right.
But that was fun. I liked doing it, but it was also hard because it was like, oh, this isn't easy.
Right.
To get the unfiltered version of one of those people is difficult. Mm-hmm. But
For sure.
I think that's what we're after, or, you know, what we're after, and certainly tackling the harder subject. And I love the debate, and to know that we could have a debate, I guess, is probably the biggest thing.
Yes.
That, you know, it's never as black and white an issue. Like payer versus provider is never as simple as we make it out to be. And there's a lot of gray, and I think it's worth talking about.
Right.
So
For sure. And to your point, I think it has almost become too easy to make it a payer versus provider argument. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, there is so much nuance there, but I think the stance is like, payers are bad and providers are good, and that's all there is, right? Like,
they are, but okay.
I know,
no,
but you know what I
keep
mean?
going.
It's not that black and white. I'm just saying, like, there's more nuance there. You just said there's more nuance there, but I'm agreeing with you.
No, I'm contradicting myself.
I know.
Like, I think there is. They are bad people.
They are bad.
No, I'm kidding.
Right.
I don't know.
They are bad people. Bad. But I know that they don't. I don't. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's more like there's no accountability.
Yes.
If there's anything, I'm not saying we hold people accountable, but I think we're trying to in some circumstances where I feel like it's warranted.
But when payers became,
I will
to your
do that,
point,
or I try
right.
to do that, being like even Epic, like calling them, like they're a good organization. There's no one. I'm never saying that.
Right.
But it's the fact that you have so much power, you should hold those people to a higher standard, right, than you should otherwise. And I think Optum, United, the same thing. You know, I feel the same way about that.
Right.
Like we should hold them to a higher standard,
especially when they're posting record profits and people are, you know.
Well, especially when they're so big, even if they weren't making a profit.
Right.
It's like you're the largest healthcare company in the world. Yes,
Right.
you should be held to a different standard.
Right,
I'm sorry.
exactly.
That's just the
Right.
nature of it. If you were a $10 million organization, no one cares. Like,
Right.
Or maybe
now,
they care if it's egregious, but like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying. So, well, I hope that we can continue to do that work. I hope it was interesting for people to hear what it is that, you know, where we came from, how it is where we think about the world. And we're looking to bring on great guests, tackle big subjects, not be afraid of what to tackle and how to talk about it.
Bring it on.
Cool. With that, we're ready to take on this new adventure.
That's right.
Unscripted.
Woohoo. Unscripted. Let's go.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining.